Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio.
And on the ESPN app.
Welcome to The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I'm Jeff Schwartz. Alongside with me is Barrett Jones. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Hit us up on our 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter feed at ESPN Radio, at Jeff Schwartz with a G, at Barrett A. Jones. Welcome in, Barrett. How you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic, Jeff. Great to be back on the show.
Well, it was a great day of football. Ended in FedEx Field tonight. Quick update. Washington Redskins beat the Oakland Raiders pretty soundly, 27-10. Kirk Cousins goes 25 of 30 for 365 and 3 touchdowns. And Oakland only gains 128 yards. Most of that garbage time at the end of the game. Barrett, how surprising was this outcome tonight?
Yeah, I was shocked. I think the biggest shocker to me was that offense for Oakland. The offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in pro football tonight, gave up 4 sacks to Ryan Kerrigan, Junior Gillette and company. Only 32 rush yards. Marshawn Lynch, 6 for 18. Just a very disappointing night. I think the defense, in my mind, stole the show. I'm not surprised. I think Kirk Cousins is an awesome quarterback. Was very impressed tonight with the Redskins defense.
That is true. The Redskins efficient. Oakland's offensive line not very efficient. We'll get into the Redskins game a little bit later, but now it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. It was finally an excellent Sunday of NFL football on the field and off the field. There were storylines as well. The continued protest today with some owners involved, locking arms, some players taking a knee, and 3 teams deciding not to come out for the national anthem: the Seattle Seahawks, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Tennessee Titans. Since 2009 has been the time that the NFL has required the teams to be out for the national anthem. I think that we will eventually get back to this. What do you think about that, Barrett?
Yeah, Jeff, that's something I'm definitely going to keep an eye on. I think it's very interesting just when you look at this situation. You know, to me, it looks like the NFL is in a really tight spot. Obviously, you know, the NFL loves their fans. They don't want to alienate part of their fan base. And no matter which side of this disagreement you fall on, whether or not you like the comments by the president or whether you don't like them, the fact is that the nation seems to be divided on this issue. There's a lot of people that feel a certain way about this, and there's a lot of people that feel another way. And so, how can the NFL manage that? Because it seems like both sides right now are pretty firmly entrenched. And it's just a really tough situation for Roger Goodell and the NFL. It seems to me like something's got to change. Something will happen because if we know one thing about the NFL, they don't like bad press. And they're not going to enjoy all this negativity, and they want the focus to be on football because, like you said, it was a great product today. There was a lot of great football being played. Maybe the best early slate of games drama-wise that I can remember in a long time. A lot of exciting football, a lot of fun games to watch. We had a few overtime games, a lot of upsets that we'll get into later. Just a great day of football, but in some ways that wasn't the main news because there was so much else going on off the field.
Yeah, the games finally. The NFL needed a good weekend of on-the-field excellence, and we got that. So, do you think the NFL needs to mandate basically a solution to the problem, whether that is keeping guys in the tunnel like they used to do, keeping in the locker room? I think actually this could be something that could be brought up in the next CBA negotiations, because I agree with you. At some point, it will hurt the bottom line. The NFL will have to do something about this.
Yeah, and Jeff, you tell us, you're an old guy. This has not always been the case, has it? You guys didn't used to be out for the anthem.
No, we weren't. And I remember when this happened last season thinking to myself, I don't always remember being out for the anthem. And it started in 2009 where the NFL mandated that you had to be out for the anthem. So the teams that were not out there today are actually open to fine or some sort of discipline because that is against the rules to not be out for the anthem. And in college, correct me if I'm wrong, you come out after the bands play the anthem, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We don't come out until after, and I think that's an interesting part of the story. That again, that's kind of what we're going to focus on tonight, not necessarily the sides. We're going to focus on more, the legal ramifications, or at least the league rule ramifications. I'll be very interested to see if those teams you named, the Steelers, the Titans, the Seahawks, if there's any type of discipline that comes down, any type of fine that comes down, and what will happen going forward. It'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, there were a lot of different stances going on today. We have look at the NBA. The NBA does mandate teams to stand.
Yes.
So there's a lot surrounding this. I just think it's a tight spot for the NFL, and it's a spot that, frankly, in some ways, to me, looks like a lose-lose for the NFL. Because either way they go, and I know people are maybe listening, saying, the NFL should do the right thing, and the thing is that there are different people out there who have a strong opinion of what the right thing is, and so the NFL obviously wants everyone to watch, and I just think there will be some action. It'll be really interesting to kind of keep an eye on what happens these next few weeks, these next few days. I'm sure it'll be talked about among the PA, and because if they come out and they mandate players to stand, obviously the PA will have a strong reaction to that. And then if they do vice versa, then there's a lot of fans who will be disappointed. So it's a tough situation. It's something we'll keep an eye on going forward.
That's why I think the best solution to this is just to have the teams stay in the locker room or stay in the tunnel. Therefore, you avoid any of the uncomfortableness of the situation. You avoid having to negotiate any sort of thing into the CBA, and it just makes it clean for both parties.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because, I think you'll have some hardliners on the other side who might say, that you're squashing their First Amendment rights if that's the case. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough situation. I don't think it'll be quite that straightforward. I don't think either side will go down without a fight.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Back to The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I'm Jeff Schwartz. Alongside with me, fellow offensive lineman Barrett Jones. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Hit us up on our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed at ESPN Radio, at Jeff Schwartz, at Barrett Jones. The Giants are winless on the season, so we head to our Shell Pennzoil Performance Line with Giants reporter Jordan Ranaan. What is the panic meter for the Giants, Jordan?
We're about an 8 or 9. It's pretty bad right now. People are mad at the coach for the play call, the offense, the penalties, the silly mistakes. They're mad at the general manager for the composition of the roster, the offensive line in particular, and they're mad at the players. Not performing up to what the standards that they have for them. Some of these guys, you look at it, it just hasn't been good early in the season. And the result is 3 straight losses. Big trouble for the team, 3 straight losses.
Jordan, Ben McAdoo came out this week, and he said there's going to be changes all over the field. What did you see any changes all over the field? Because I didn't see a whole lot of changes.
Yeah, the only thing that I saw different from the Giants this week was that they moved faster, that they tried to play a little faster and up the tempo on offense. There was 0 lineup changes. Keenan Robinson played more at linebacker, but that was because he came back from injury. And the changes on the offensive line weren't really changes because they played pretty much with that same 5 guys last week when Bobby Hart got injured after 2 plays. So, yeah, drastic changes is the term that he used. He said there may be drastic changes, but let's be honest, there was not drastic changes, and there was a lot of the same for 3 quarters when they did not score a point. Now, granted, they came back, they finally got on the board. They scored more points in the 4th quarter than they had in the first 11 quarters of the season. But then again, there was just too many mistakes at the end, and it cost them the game. They committed 7 penalties in the 4th quarter alone.
Yeah, the only drastic change I really saw was that Odell Beckham was healthy, and obviously that makes a that makes a big difference on the offense. But I want to ask you about Odell Beckham. We all know he's a very emotional player, and I feel like that goes off well when the team is doing well. But when you score a touchdown right there, particularly in that moment of the game, and you have that celebration. Obviously, if you haven't seen the celebration, Odell Beckham crawls on the ground like a dog, and then pretends to urinate like a dog urinating on a fire hydrant. And when he was asked about it after the game, he said, "When I get in the end zone, I do what I do." That was Odell's quote. So I just got to ask you. You're around this team a lot. You're 0-3. Is that something that bothers this football team?
I don't think in this case guys even noticed too much because it didn't come back and haunt them. But I mean, it's just a total lack of self-awareness. I mean, come on. You really think that that's a smart move? You don't think you're going to get penalized for going on the ground like a dog and pretending like you're peeing on the field? And
you're telling me nobody on the team was annoyed by that, though? I mean, if I'm on the team, I'm annoyed by that. I mean, that's a silly penalty.
I mean, I think Eli Manning is annoyed by that, but most of them, they chalk it up to like that. They know the kind of personality this guy is. He's a guy that needs special treatment. He's a guy that needs to be. He's that guy that they know that they have to deal with. When there's times you could see there was when the offense was going bad. I think it was in the third quarter, and you could just tell Odell was on the verge of losing it, and you see one by one guys going up to him. Like I think they've come to the conclusion that this is the treatment and the attention that he needs. And I don't think, look, at some point, once you start losing, it'll come back and backfire on him. But this is sort of the first thing this year. He hasn't played much. He just came back. I think if we get a little further here and we have a couple more incidents of some sort, then it'll really start getting under the players' skin. In the meantime, they all have their own worries, is the fact that they've been playing pretty poor football, and that includes everybody today because the offense didn't score for 3 quarters, and then the defense, which is supposed to be the better unit, they didn't hold up their end of the bargain. So right now they're more concerned about that. I think if the defense maybe held up their end of the bargain tonight, but the bottom line was the Giants took the lead twice in the fourth quarter, and the Eagles came back and scored both times, tied the game, and then they actually won the game in, 15 seconds when they got the ball back. So I don't think anybody has enough clout or did well enough that they can sit there and be too concerned by, the shenanigans that go on around them with Odell.
The Giants have weapons on offense. Shepard, Ingram, Marshall.
Jeff, let me just say this. Get back to me in 2 more weeks with that same question. We'll see where it stands, right? In 2 or 3 more weeks.
Well, I don't get why the Giants offense cannot function without Odell. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. They have players. The guys are open at times. Like Shepard today had 87-yard slant. Like, why can't they do that more often without Odell in the lineup?
Man, that's just a good question. The problem is, look, Jeff, you've been there. This run game right now, they have no run game. It's no threat whatsoever. So if, right now when Odell's on the field, they take, there's basically 2 defenders that are moved towards those other guys. Moved towards Odell. And that opens things up for other guys. When those 2 defenders aren't spending all their time worrying about Odell, then it gives these guys more opportunities to make plays, so they're able to do it. Now, they can make a play here or there, but they just can't do it consistently because there's no run game to go along with it to even speak of. The Giants have 147 rushing yards in 3 games combined right now. 147 yards. The Eagles topped that today alone. It just puts them at such a disadvantage. They can make a play here or there, but they can't sustain any type of offense because you don't run the ball at all. And to be honest, it's sort of a lack of execution and commitment. They're just totally not committed to the running game. They have no commitment whatsoever to the running game.
That's a painful stat. You're talking to 2 offensive linemen right here.
Yes.
You're 147 rush yards in 3 football games. And speaking of the offensive line, they've obviously caught a lot of heat. I think everyone's been talking about Eric Flowers these past few weeks.
Right.
From your perspective, you're around the team a lot. How much of it is the offensive line, and how much of it is Eli? There's starting to be some whispers. Is Eli the same guy that he used to be? What's your take on that?
I think there's blame to go around all the way. Eli is certainly not blameless. I know some Giants fans have an affinity for him. He won 2 Super Bowls for them, and I get it. I was just watching the Redskins game, and I saw a throw where Kirk Cousins stepped up and just got blasted and still made a throw. Now, of course, if you're Eli Manning, you can't do that ever, consistently on, 30 dropbacks because you won't survive. But there needs to be more plays where he goes out there and makes plays. He's the highest paid guy on the team. He's the guy who's getting the $20 million a year. he needs to make a handful of plays a game on his own. He can't, rely on everyone else around him at all times, and that's his job to be the star quarterback. So he needs to make more plays, but the offensive line certainly is probably deserves even more blame. I mean, he just doesn't have time to throw the ball consistently, and the fact that he can't move, it's a terrible combination. I mean, he can't. We know Eli couldn't move when he was younger. Now he's 36, going to be 37. So if there's not an ideal pocket, it just makes it tough for him to have success. Now, Pro Football Focus that he got rid of the ball today, I think the number was 1.86 seconds.
Wow.
I mean, that is ridiculous. And that's like a full second below what he usually gets rid of the ball in. So,
well, I think that's the.
I don't know. I don't know if that's sustainable. They were getting rid of the ball so quickly. The wide receivers were taking big hits. So I'm not sure if that's sustainable long term, but it did work a little bit today, though.
We've talked a lot about the offense. I want to ask you one last question before you get out of here about the defense. Is Landon Collins the most underrated superstar in the game right now? He is a monster at safety.
He is really good. You know what? I said it today. I think he's one of the best tacklers I've ever seen. Like, if he hits you, you're going down right there. He almost never misses a tackle. He's just a tremendous player. Now, I don't think he's the best cover safety, out there. That's not his top skill. He's okay at it, but anywhere near the line of scrimmage, he's just a monster. And his speed, he could close on guys, and which is partly why he could do all right. He does all right in coverage. He's just so athletically talented, and I mean, just a tremendous player. He's up there. If people don't think he's one of the best safeties in the league, they're just not watching enough Giants games and enough football, because he's definitely up there in the top 2 or 3 guys. You can line up any of them. I mean, I haven't watched enough of Earl Thomas to see where he is coming back, but he's in that range of player. He's that good.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Jordan. That was very insightful about the unfortunate 0-3 New York Football Giants.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one. Only 3 teams since 1990 have made the playoffs after starting 0-3. Not good.
Brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today.
Jeff, I love the Bama reference right there with Landon Collins. I love that.
I did
Roll
it just
Tide.
for you. I did it just for you. I
appreciate
know.
Big win for the Tide.
59-0
over the Doors this weekend. Throwing that in there.
Very, very impressive. Alabama now, 20 straight SEC wins over 20 points, some crazy number like that, averaging 23 points or something?
Something like that, Jeff. It's hard to keep track these days.
So in the interview with Jordan, we talked about Odell, scored a touchdown, crawled like a dog, lifted his leg, pretend there was a hydrant there. We have audio of Odell talking about his unique celebration.
You pantomiming peeing like a dog. I mean, why would you do that?
I don't know. I was in the end zone. I scored a touchdown. I'm a dog, so I acted like a dog. When I get in the end zone, I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to try and spark this team. And the consequences are going to be what they are. It's like life. You have to deal with the consequences. And that's something I can take. Our team, we were motivated from that. I don't think it set us back any. I just don't think we finished. It's a long season. You're going to keep playing what you're supposed to stop playing week 4. I know you wouldn't quit at what you do. I'm not going to quit at what I do. So I'm going to give everything I have to the Giants and this team and this organization this year. And that's all I could do.
So I played with Odell in New York. The guys love him. Some of those antics I know people might not like. Being down in that game, scoring a touchdown, and pretending to take a piss on the Eagles field and fans probably doesn't sit very well with a lot of people. But the guys don't seem to mind very much. Would that bother you, Barrett, if you were one of his teammates?
Frankly, yes. I was a little annoyed by that. I think within reason. He's obviously a repeat offender, and you heard earlier he's a special situation. You have to give him a special treatment. But that just kind of annoys me, particularly when you're down in a ball game. But I think the bottom line, if you win a bunch of games, if you're in a good situation, that's the kind of thing that doesn't bother you. But when you're 0-3, and if that stuff keeps up, I think that's when you kind of start pointing fingers and you get really annoyed at that situation.
So after a monster pancake on an inside zone, you didn't go run over and hug the kicking net and propose to it?
No, I mean, I think that O-linemen should get more into celebrations, though. I'm with you. I think we should start. Why does it have to be a touchdown to celebrate? Maybe I'm just bitter. Maybe I'm bitter that I never got to celebrate a touchdown, because I would have some killer moves out there now that they've really opened up these rules. But no, I guess I am. Maybe after we get a pancake block, that should be the new thing. You do kind of your own little celebration dance. I like that idea.
I'm so tired after a block, though. I feel like the energy wasted celebrating what your job is supposed to be is not worth it until you get to the end zone. When you get to the end zone, you can do whatever you want. But until then, I feel like I'm too tired to celebrate.
No, I totally agree. If you're playing the way you should as an offensive lineman, you don't have enough energy to do some type of celebration, particularly with the fast-paced no huddle these days. You got to get back to the huddle, man. You got to get the next call. So I'm with you. Even though the big guys don't get enough attention, maybe that's how we should start setting ourselves apart with unique celebrations. That's a good idea.
Some unique celebrations.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Schwartz alongside with me is Barrett Jones, and let's go to our Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Redskins tight end Vernon Davis. Does it feel good to get that victory tonight in front of your home crowd?
You know what? Yes. It felt really, really amazing getting that victory, especially on national television. I feel like the guys did a great job. They came out and they did everything they possibly could to help make this possible. And, it was a great win, and I'm just elated.
Vernon, great night tonight for Kirk Cousins, 25 for 30, 365 yards. What makes your quarterback so special?
I think his mindset. He has a winning mindset. He's always preparing when it comes mentally, physically. He's just always on top of it. And, I think he does a great job day in, day out. And he's just, he's really good about that. When I first met him, I told him, I said, you have some of the same qualities that Peyton Manning has when it comes to just being a professional, being a leader, and he does it. He does it all the time. It's consistent.
We are two offensive linemen. So I got to end with this. You are part of the run game because you play tight end. What makes the Redskins' run game so efficient? With Bill Callahan as your offensive line coach, obviously you blocking a tight end, it's always been a great run game. Why is that?
I think it's the scheme. The scheme, the way we work at it, and we're always working on different techniques. And Coach Callahan, he's one of the best when it comes to helping guys develop their technique, develop their craft, and just be good football players. I mean, he does it all the time. He's amazing.
Well, thank you, Vernon, for coming on tonight. Enjoy the victory, and good luck next week.
Thank you, sir.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. More independent agents sell Progressive Insurance than any other brand and agent at Progressive.com. Now, that's Progressive. Big win for the Redskins tonight. A lot of big wins for home dogs, starting with the game in London, Jacksonville winning 44-7 over the Ravens. Barrett, what stood out to you today on this NFL Sunday?
Yeah, you said it, Jeff. There were 8 favorites. There's been 15 games so far this weekend. Obviously, we have the Monday night game coming up tomorrow. 8 favorites have lost, in some cases big favorites, the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Ravens, the Raiders, Panthers, Buccaneers, all lost this weekend. So that was the big stance. The big thing that stood out to me was that crazy, unpredictable. And then on top of that, the Packers, the Patriots, and the Falcons almost lost, 3 of the best teams in the NFL. So it was a very unpredictable weekend, a lot of upsets, a lot of exciting games, a lot of overtime games. Frankly, it's what the NFL needed. They needed a big, exciting game weekend, great early slate, great afternoon slate. It was just an action-packed day for me.
To me, what stood out was the idea that any given Sunday in the NFL, a team can win, right? I mean, we just talked about the dog situation as far as being an underdog. But look, no one gave the Bears a chance to beat the Steelers at home, right? Not many people gave the Bills a chance to beat the 2-0 Broncos at home. But this is, I think, what makes the NFL so special at times is that any given Sunday, you can win a football game. I feel that differs from college where there's a lot of momentum swings. The home team wins a lot. And this is one reason why I like watching NFL is you get these games where, the Jets aren't supposed to beat the Dolphins. The Jets are supposed to go 0-16. They want the number 1 pick. And now they're actually ahead of 3 other teams in the NFL, which is kind of surprising after 3 weeks.
No, I'm with you, Jeff. And like I said, I think, frankly, the NFL needed that. There's been kind of a movement lately on Twitter and social media that maybe college football is more exciting. And I think it was a great weekend, a reminder for us, hey, here's what's great about the NFL. The differential between these 32 teams is so small. It really is so small. You play there, I play there. You know that any given Sunday, any team can beat any other team. That's what makes it great. That's what makes it so exciting. And if you play in a survivor pool like I do, you know just how unpredictable those games can be.
Well, someone who played in a survivor pool this week, my pick was the Panthers, so that did not work out very well.
My pick was the Dolphins. That didn't work out well either.
Yeah,
I'm out.
And I'm actually in a double elimination. And my second pick, I was actually going to change my pick to the Ravens. I thought, you know what, the Saints, they can get their offense going, which they did on Sunday against the Panthers. But I was going to pick the Ravens. I would have been 0 for 2. I should not do these survivor pools. That's my new thing.
Yeah, that's brutal.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Back to The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I'm Jeff Schwartz. Alongside with me is Barrett Jones. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Hit us up on our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed at ESPN Radio, at Jeff Schwartz with a G, at Barrett A. Jones. Thousands affected by recent disasters urgently need support. Help the American Red Cross provide meals and shelter to these families. Donate today by going to redcross.org/ESPN. Two of the best to ever play quarterback were back at it today. Tom Brady leading the Patriots to a come-from-behind victory over the Texans, 36-33. Brady going 25 of 35, 378 and 5 touchdowns. And Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, another come-from-behind, beating the Bengals 27-24. Aaron Rodgers, first overtime victory his entire career. Up until today, he'd only thrown, I believe, 7 or 8 passes in overtime his entire career in 7 previous games. He was 28 of 42 for 313 and 3 touchdowns. Barrett, more impressive performance, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers or Tom Brady and the New England Patriots?
Well, both were pretty incredible, honestly. I tell you what, I'm going to go with a wild card here. Deshaun Watson went into New England, and he stood toe-to-toe with Tom Brady for almost 4 quarters. Obviously, we've seen it a million times. You can't give the ball back to the GOAT, with 2 minutes remaining. Every time he's going to drive him down the field. It seems like every time he makes it happen. 5 touchdown passes today. He was awesome. I think if you're a Patriots fan, though, you're a little bit concerned. Giving up 33 points. That defense has been a little sketchy this year. There's a lot of question marks, frankly, in New England. I know anytime you have number 12 playing quarterback, a lot of your question marks can kind of be hidden. But they kind of got exposed in some ways by the Chiefs. Now, Patriots fans don't hate me. I know that at any time you guys are capable of turning it on and win the Super Bowl. But I just think there's a lot of questions right now in New England because the Texans went in there and played really good. Deshaun Watson, I'm so high on this kid. I think he's going to be a really good football player. I love the way he carries himself. I just love his attitude. I love his leadership ability. He's a great football player. And then the other game, the Bengals really came out and played a great football game again for about 3.5 quarters today, and they were a Joe Mixon slip away from this whole thing being over. Had a 3rd and 1 late in the game, down 3 around the 20-yard line. Joe Mixon slipped when he was trying to take the handoff. Andy Dalton had to try to he turned around as a broken play, had to try to run it himself, didn't get it. That they would have been able to, one more first down, they would have been able to run the clock down under 30 seconds. Didn't happen. Had to kick it back to Aaron Rodgers. Again, what do we learn? Aaron Rodgers took him down. Forced overtime, and the rest is history. It was 2 incredible games today. It's just unbelievable how consistent those 2 guys are. And just a last interesting stat, Aaron Rodgers had not thrown a pick 6 in 7 years. That was only his 2nd ever pick 6 of his entire career. He had gone 2,877 days without throwing a pick 6. Just for some comparison, in that time span, Drew Brees, another great quarterback, has thrown 18 pick 6s, and Peyton has thrown 15. That is an incredible statistic. He threw a pick 6 today. Obviously, they still found a way to win, but only 2 pick 6s his entire career and none in 7 years.
Well, it's even more remarkable to me because of the way Rodgers plays, or he freestyles a lot in that offense. And obviously, Tom Brady just sits in the pocket and throws in rhythm. So Aaron Rodgers, to me, should make more mistakes. But to see him thread that ball to Jordy Nelson to win that game, to tie the game up, I should say, at the end of regulation, he is remarkable in what he does. In that offense, too, the Giants run the same offense, and the Giants struggle because their guys don't get open, and Eli can't move. and Aaron Rodgers can move all the time. Those offensive tackles do a great job of protecting way late into the down, which is something as an offensive lineman, it takes skill to keep blocking. Like, as much as you try to turn that internal clock off, you kind of have an idea of when the quarterback should get rid of the ball. But if you're a Packers offensive lineman, you can never stop blocking because Aaron Rodgers is still back there making plays.
No, I totally agree. I think obviously Tom Brady, at this point, it's almost inarguable that he's probably the greatest of all time. He's incredible. He's a great quarterback. That being said, if you're a football guy, and I'm sure you did the same thing, Jeff, there would be times where we'd be watching Packers film, and Aaron Rodgers would make a play, and you would just turn to the guys and you would just say, whoa. There's just things that guy does. There's no other human on the planet that can do it. I mean, he whether it's throwing a ball 50 yards across his body with both feet off the ground on the run. I mean, the guy just makes some absolutely incredible plays. I don't think anyone plays the position quite like he does. Don't get me wrong. I'm still saying I think Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. But Tom Brady is not the athlete that Aaron Rodgers. He'd be the first one to admit that. Is not the athlete that Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers does some special things. Like you said, underrated as an athlete. It puts a lot of stress in those tackles, but they do a fantastic job finishing. Man, they're both a lot of fun to watch. Just a pair of great quarterbacks, and just two great players and two great leaders.
To finish our point about Rodgers, I think what makes it so remarkable to us as watching his offensive linemen and really in general about quarterbacks is most quarterbacks do it within rhythm of the offense, and he does not, which is so unique for a quarterback to just decide to make plays and draw plays up in the sand. The play against the Cowboys in the playoff game, he drew it up in the huddle. I talked to the offensive linemen there. They drew the protection up in the huddle. They figured out how to do it. He told guys where to line up, and that's what makes him such a remarkable quarterback. But because they went to overtime today, I get to talk about one of my favorite things, which is NFL overtime. So everyone gets fired up about overtime, and it mainly happens because Rodgers really never gets the ball in overtime. It happened in the playoff game against the Cardinals, so the NFL is trying to find ways to make it more fair. To me, it should be sudden death. Overtime does not have to be fair. You've had 60 minutes to win the game. If you do not win the game, it goes to sudden death. You can play defense in overtime. It's okay to play defense. If you lose the toss and another team takes the ball, play defense, stop them like the Packers did, and go down and score. How do you feel about overtime? Should it be college overtime? Should it be sudden death? Do you like where it's at now? How would you, change, or do you have an idea on how overtime should go in the NFL?
Well, Jeff, that's the player stance. That's a guy who played a long time in the NFL, and he's ready to get back to the bus. He's ready once. I know you're ready to get to that post-game buffet. You're not trying to play overtime. I get it. I personally love college overtime. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a lot of fun. That's my preference. I love the way it sets up. I think it's always dramatic, always exciting. I understand that's not the way that the NFL has done it. They've made some adjustments. I think it's better. I do. I think when you have a high-scoring game, it shouldn't come down to a coin flip. So I'm going to come down the other side of this argument. I'm going to say I enjoy the change of overtime. I probably, if I was the one designing it, I would go with college overtime. That's the way I love to see it. I think it's a lot of fun. They say that's wouldn't fit well in the NFL game. I disagree. I think it'd be a great fit. I think it'd be exciting, and ultimately that's what you want for the fans.
I don't think it would fit because, like you mentioned, it's just too many reps. Last season the Seahawks and the Cardinals played an overtime game, and they played the entire way, right? It was a tie. And first of all, ties don't feel right. I've never played in a tie before. Have you played in a tie before?
No ties.
I feel like that's a waste of a game. I'd rather lose than tie. Like, I feel like at least I accomplished. I didn't accomplish anything, but there was a result from the game.
At least you didn't accomplish anything.
Am I crazy for thinking that?
I think you're crazy for thinking that. You never want to lose, but
I don't want to lose.
I understand what you're saying. I think it's a little misguided. That's coming from clearly a Pac-12 guy who's saying this.
Oh, here we go.
In the SEC, we don't accept losing under any circumstance. So, I get that. Coming from kind of a moral victory background like you are.
That's not a moral victory. That's a result of a game. But a tie in the standings counts as a win, though. Which is kind of interesting because it doesn't count as a loss, right? So, but I think NFL overtime
counts as a tie, not a win.
Right, but it doesn't count as a loss though. That in tiebreaker situations, it actually counts more on the win side. Like, it helps you than it hurts you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, I'll follow that.
Yeah. So, but this is a topic that always is fun to talk about because I don't think it has to be fair, though. Like that, the fairness thing to me is what everyone talks about, and I just don't think the game is fair. It's not. If you can't do it in 60 minutes, then
it should come down to a coin flip. I mean, what does that mean?
But it doesn't come down to a coin flip because you can play defense. It's okay for you to stop somebody.
I don't know, man. I still think that there's too much player in you. I get it. It's late in the game, late in the season. You're not trying to play overtime. Maybe you're out of the playoff picture. I tell you, the worst thing in the history of football, though, and it's almost happened to me twice, is a tie in the preseason. That is the worst.
That is the worst.
You should always go for two. There's no excuse to ever go to a tie in the preseason.
How about this, though? And this is true. Coaches will tell you, we will not play for a tie in the preseason, and they can't help themselves. They always play for a tie.
They can't.
They want more football to evaluate. My first ever
they got to go for two. They're going to go for two. What are they supposed to do?
My first ever preseason game was overtime. So I'm a rookie. I come from a Pac-12 school, or Pac-10 back then. Excuse me for coming from a Pac-10 school, and I was not used to playing a 3-point stance. I was not playing very well first preseason game. I'm told I'm just going to play a couple plays. I get in the fourth quarter. I don't play very well. Lo and behold, we go to overtime. I get 2 more drives. I'm anxious. I'm nervous. I was like, let's get it over with. But now, an overtime game in the preseason, if I was a veteran guy, I would be upset about.
Well, you'd probably be out anyway. So let's
being like, I wouldn't like you said, though, I wouldn't be able to have my hot dog as quick as I would if we go to.
And for those of you who do not know, that's what the veterans do in preseason games. There's a little room back there where there's hot dogs for the doctors. And the veteran guys, they take off their gloves, they go grab a hot dog. The key is you can't get caught with a hot dog, though. As we saw, Mark Sanchez or whoever it was got caught with a hot dog that time. You got to sneak the hot dog. Can't get caught with a hot dog. But it is something delicious about a nice juicy dog when you're out of the game. You're just chilling, watching your teammates play. A dog really hits the spot.
There actually are hot dogs during regular season games. I know this because when I broke my leg for the last time,
injured
guy, I went back to the locker room, again ice on, and we were at FedEx Field actually, and there was no place for me to sit, so I went and into the equipment room that had a TV so I could watch the game, and they were having hot dogs back there, and I just started. I was like, my season's over with. I'm not making weight anymore. Just start throwing the hot dogs down. So there's a little bit of inside football that as fat guys we enjoy eating during the middle games.
Hey, if you want to know where the good food is, just ask the nearest fat-o lineman. They can tell you, man. We know all the tricks. We know all the best snacks. We know all the best protein shake recipes. We got it all, man. We know the food of the NFL.
We are multi-talented.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This is The Locker Room with Jeff Schwartz and Barrett Jones. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot even if you have insurance with another company. See how much you can save before you switch. So, Lions, Falcons, it is 30-26. Lions are driving down the field to go win the game at home in Ford Field. Golden Tate catches the ball with one knee down at the 1 yard line and dives into the end zone with 8 seconds left with an apparent go-ahead touchdown. They review the play. They realize as he caught the ball, he was touched down as he dove into the end zone. He was about 3 inches short of the goal line. Since the Lions had no timeouts left, they were charged a 10-second runoff because if you spot the ball with 8 seconds left, the Lions will then spike the ball, kill the clock, then have another play to run. Lions coach Jim Caldwell talks about that last play.
They ruled it correctly, and that's the way it is. We just, our guys fought hard. They have a really good football team. There were a lot of things I think we could have done better.
Wow, Barrett, I've seen a lot of endings. I'm not sure I've seen something end like that.
Yeah, that was a crazy ending. I mean, we're talking about two really good football teams right here. This to me, watching this game, looked like a playoff game. Both of these guys, really good football teams that I expect to see in the playoffs. Have been really impressed with the Lions so far this year on both sides of the football. Matthew Stafford just continues to get better. And talk about a guy leading fourth quarter drives. Matthew Stafford seems like he's leading a fourth quarter drive just about every week. Now, the big question to me in this whole thing is, do you think that the Lions would have been able, with 8 seconds to go, Golden Tate catches that ball. They're all right there at the 1-yard line. Would they have been able to get up and to run a play or to spike it in time to run a different play? Jim Caldwell actually in the press conference said we practice it all the time. I feel like we would have easily been able to get another play off and obviously have a good chance to score from the 1-inch line and win the game. What do you think, Jeff?
Because they were so close in proximity to where Golden Tate caught the ball, I could see that happening. Typically, though, 8 seconds is not enough time to run up and spike a ball, especially in that situation when you know the Falcons defender is going to be laying on top of Golden Tate and not allowing him to get up. So I don't know. I would have loved to see it, though. It would have been fun to watch one more play in that game and see how the Lions would have handled that, because I'll tell you what, I tweeted this out. I even congratulate the Lions on a premature victory, but the Lions are legit contenders in the NFC North. If they would have won this game, they would have been 3-0. It would have beaten the Falcons, who are on an absolute tear. I mean, the Falcons, to me, are a surprise team because they lost both their coordinators. I did not expect them to come out this season in a Super Bowl hangover type season and have the same style of play, the same rhythm with offensive play calling, the defense continuing to improve. So I was just shocked, really, the Falcons are kind of at where they are right now. I thought they would start slow and pick up the pace as the season went on.
Yeah, I don't think I was surprised with the Falcons. I think they just have too much talent on the offensive side of the ball. They got talent every single level of that offense. The offensive line, obviously, is a lot better, led by Alex Mack. And then you got Julio Jones, my man from Alabama, the best receiver in the NFL. That's another argument for a different time. And then Devontae Freeman. I think I just mixed their running backs' names together. But no, they're a great football team. But just going back to your point, sometimes you have that one-word play. I agree. I don't think they would have had time to spike it. But sometimes you have that one-word play. Yes. You can immediately say that one word. Everyone knows what to do. Gets up there, whether it's a quarterback sneak, whether it's a handoff, whether it's a quick pass pattern. I don't think you have time to spike it and then run an additional play. But I think you might have had time if Matthew Stafford was thinking really quickly, had that one-word call, could get it out there. But it would, like you said, 8 seconds. Would have been tough, but hey, that would have been some exciting football right there to see if they could spot the ball and snap it in 8 seconds. I just hate it for the fans, honestly. From a fan's perspective, you hate to see a game end, on a 10-second runoff. That's a bummer. I mean, I understand why it's happening. I get it. I get why the rule's in place. And I don't even really know how you could change it. That's obviously something that comes up probably one every 2 or 300 games. It's not like a common occurrence where it's that kind of situation. But it just didn't feel right. Such a good football game. Both teams so close. It didn't feel right to end it on a 10-second runoff. Hate it for the Lions, but like you said, impressed with both these football teams. Really good. I think we're going to see them both in the playoffs.
Are the Lions legit contenders to win the North? I thought coming into the season they are. I was there, so I saw the talent and what Bob Quinn, the new GM, has done. I'm a big believer in Jim Caldwell. I know a lot of people might not think he is much of a coach because of how stoic he is in the sidelines. He is a heck of a coach. And Matt Stafford is worth every single penny that they pay him. They built a team around that offense. And to me, the Lions are a legit contender in the North.
No, I totally agree. And, hey, you're leaving out the best name in football, and that is Jim Bob Cooter.
Yes.
I mean, you got to believe in Jim Bob Cooter. Since he's taken over, I mean, the Lions' offense has been pretty awesome. They've kind of totally transformed who they are. They've kind of become this ball control offense where they, protect the lay, protect the ball, have a good time possession. It's really helped their defense a lot. I'm totally a believer in the Lions. I'm a huge Jim Caldwell fan as well. I think they have a great chance in the North. The North is stacked. Obviously you have the Vikings in there too, the Packers. But I do believe the Lions will win the North, go to the playoffs, and hopefully make a run in the playoffs because they're a fun team to watch.
We move from the NFC North to the AFC North. The Steelers' offense hasn't looked up to par this season so far. We find out why with ESPN Steelers reporter Jere y Fowler next on The Locker Room.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Welcome back to The Locker Room on ESPN Radio. I'm Jeff Schwartz. He's Barrett Jones. Right now we go to our Shell Pennzoil Performance line with Steelers reporter Jere Fowler. Jeremy, what made the Steelers come to the decision to remain in the locker room during the anthem?
Well, so basically in the team hotel Saturday night at the JW Marriott in Chicago, the players got together. Mike Tomlin did talk to the team. He didn't decide what to do, but he basically said, look, we understand the comments Trump made. We also understand that people have varied opinions, and that's all good. So I'll leave it up to you guys. If you want to do something, I can support it. And so the players discussed various options on what to do, including maybe some form of kneeling on the field or lockstep, or, they decided to do a couple things on the field potentially, but they realized it would probably be best if they all in solidarity go to the tunnel locker room area so that nobody would be singled out. You could protect the people that have opinions or don't have opinions on the matter. And then, of course, Alejandro Villanueva was the one player who stepped out and was outside the tunnel. And so that actually wasn't by design from what I understand, but they all respect Villanueva because he is a former Army Ranger and has a unique circumstance to step out like that.
So the big story this year for the Steelers, and really for the past few years, has been the home-road split. They've been a lot better at home than they have been on the road. Is that something that's talked about around the facility? And, what's your take on some of the causes for that?
Well, it's talked about in broad strokes, but it's starting to get a microscope on it now. I mean, after this game, this is really, I believe, the 8th game out of the last 10 starts on the road where Ben Roethlisberger has thrown for 1 touchdown or less. And that's not all on him, but it's obvious the passing game is sort of a shell of itself when it's at home. It's just, for some reason, it's more comfortable. Role players get more involved. On the road, it's basically Antonio Brown and not much else. And so the players are frustrated. They basically said, we're wasting talent. We have, arguably the best running back and receiver in the game. We have a top-shelf quarterback, great offensive line. If our defense holds the team to 17 points in regulation, we should be able to win that game.
When you watch them play on the road, what is the rhythm not there? Is the flow not there? Do they not run the ball well on the road? Does the crowd noise? It just seems odd. Like you said, a team that has a good offensive line, good skill position players, a Hall of Fame quarterback, they can't function on the road in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's something when you ask players about it, they sort of draw a blank. They even joke, is it the food or the water on the road? They say they're focused, but, the most descriptive Roethlisberger has gotten on the matter is basically that the cadence can be an issue. Getting the right cadence picked up on the road, the crowd noise and the opposing team can be difficult. It throws the rhythm off a little bit. But, I'm sure that is valid, certainly. But at some point, they have to be able to overcome that. And they thought they had made adjustments to be able to do that this year. And it's just not relaying.
You guys were in the headlines a lot this year, particularly with the Le'Veon Bell saga. I know he came back at the end of the season, and everyone said the right thing. It wouldn't be a big effect. The first 2 weeks, he was not the Le'Veon Bell we were used to seeing. He was a little better this week, but being up close and personal with the team, do you feel like that did have an effect on the gel of this offense?
It's starting to be an effect, I think. They never wanted to say that, and they won't say that. But Le'Veon Bell did come in good shape, but it's just, for whatever reason, he's got a very patient running style, and he was in such a rhythm with his offensive line at the end of last year. And to be sure, the holes were bigger last year. Through 3 games, the offensive line has not been as dominant as it was the end of last season. So that's one thing they're trying to figure out. They've had a few injuries there as well. So they feel like when they have their top 5 ready to go, that they should be able to create those holes for him. I think the difference with Bell is maybe getting his legs back. He hasn't gotten those explosive plays that he would have probably broken last year. Today I thought he looked pretty good after contact. He was good at turning 2 yards into 4 yards. But, just you see a hole there, and he's not bursting through it the way he might have a year ago.
The Bears quarterback, Mike Glennon, was 15 of 22 today, and 12 of those completions were to running backs. However, they ran for 220 yards. How were they able to pull that off against the Steelers' defense?
I mean, they were just overmatched up front. The offensive line of the Bears was creating those holes. They were big holes, and it was surprising because Steelers love to pride themselves in stopping the run. Usually they're top 10 every year. It's just every year they have these couple games, especially on the road, where they're just awful against the run. You can't describe it. I mean, they didn't have a running – I don't think a receiver caught a pass in the first half, and yet they had 100 and I want to say 100 and at least 119 yards in the first half. So, it was ugly. I mean, they acknowledged, Cam Hayward, defensive end, said we got our ass kicked. There's no other way to say it.
Coming into the season, The Steelers were a very trendy Super Bowl pick. What's the feeling around the building? Obviously, maybe haven't lived up to expectations, particularly offensively so far in this season. Is there still a feeling that this team can kind of bring it all together and make a deep run?
Well, the problem is they're trending in the wrong way on offense. I mean, 2014, they were averaging about 110 yards per game. Right now, they're right above 300. Certainly, with their pedigree and their success the last 3 years, they will get the benefit of the doubt, and in a lot of ways they deserve that. So 3 games is a small sample size, and they don't have to peak yet. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger said we're hoping to peak in December, not September and October, but the defense is probably on par with where they thought. They've gotten incrementally better over the last few years. It's just to be a Super Bowl contender, it's up to that offense to play to its form from a few years ago, and right now, there's just not a lot of evidence of that, but they do have the players to make it happen. They just something has to get on the same page on the road, and they're going to be in Baltimore, which is one of the places where they've struggled mightily the last few years.
There was an odd play in the game today where the Bears are running down to score a touchdown before the end of the half. Pittsburgh comes in, strips the ball, goes out the back of the end zone. Both teams run to the locker room. Have you ever seen a situation where they both have to come back on the field like that, and they barely got back on the field? The Bears then run a play and score a touchdown. It was very odd the way that situation ended up playing out.
Yeah, that was – I can't remember a situation like that, to be honest. And really just the rule book situation, trying to make sense of it all. I mean, you got that once the ball was stripped at the 1-yard line and then the Steelers punter, Jordan Berry, knocked it out of bounds, you get that that's a foul on the Steelers, so the ball goes to the Bears, but then they get a false start at the line of scrimmage, so it's like, well, does that start the clock? And so you just run through all these scenarios, and Coach Mike Tomlin said that he got clearance to go to the locker room, that the half was over, he was told. So they all ran off, and so, he doesn't discount the officials' ability to look at the replay and figure out what's best. He just thought it should have been handled a little better where, okay, they had to run 100 yards and then run 100 yards back just to play a down at defense.
Well, thank you, Jeremy, for coming on with us tonight.
Anytime, guys. Thank you.
You know what's always in season? Surprising a friend or loved one with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. 1-800-Flowers has amazing offers on bouquets starting at just $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So, Barry, we talked with Jeremy about Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell missed all of training camp holding out. I am all for players holding out. I think that they should get whatever they're worth. Actually, technically, it was not a holdout. He was franchise tagged. He did not sign his tag. He did not report to camp until he ended up signing that. However, there is a difference between being in good shape, like physical good shape, and football shape. And this is where we're out with Le'Veon Bell. He is not in football shape, and that's why his teammates got on Twitter, kind of week 3 of training camp, got on Snapchat, started calling him like, yo, come back. We get what you're doing, but we need you to get in rhythm. And I think it's really hurting them right now that he is not in football shape, has not played with his offensive line. You worry about soft tissue injuries when guys are not in shape. Are you concerned that Le'Veon Bell will not be productive as the season goes forward?
Yeah, I am a little concerned, and you noted it. I think it's important to note the fact that this really wasn't a holdout, which is why I'm frankly not crazy about it. Now, there's people that say he has a plan. He doesn't want to get tagged again. He wants to show them. But, hey, this team can win the Super Bowl. They have a lot of talent on this team. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and Ben, obviously, he's been there. They have one of the best receivers in the league, and they have one of the best running backs. I mean, this team is primed to win right now. And so I think that's what's frustrating is because everyone in the entire world knew that Le'Veon Bell was coming back to sign that franchise tag.
Of course.
And he really didn't have a reason to hold out. Nothing could have even changed. He didn't even have the ability at that point to sign a long-term deal. So the only reason he didn't come is basically just kind of out of spite to the Steelers for not signing a long-term deal. So, I think it's a weird situation. There's definitely a huge difference, like you said, between football shape and being in great shape. Now, everyone says he was in great shape, and I believe that he was. I believe that he ran, he worked hard, he worked out. but you just can't simulate football practice. I mean, there's just not. It's just not possible. I mean, no matter how good of a shape I'm in, those first few days in camp, I am exhausted after practice. It's a different kind of tired. It's impossible to simulate that. And I know that people aren't crazy about the preseason, but they're part of those. Part of that is very useful. And when you're such a unique style of runner like Le'Veon Bell is. He has such a unique style. If you ever watch him,
does.
He is so patient. He just sits back there. The timing, it's almost like nobody can simulate that, So I just think timing-wise looks a little off right now. Offensive line, it's just not gelled right now. The first 2 weeks, he really, for Le'Veon Bell standards, he was bad. This past week, he was a little bit better. But I think it'll hurt him a little bit. I think there's something to that. We'll see if he is one of the greatest athletes probably on the face of the planet. So we'll see if he can pick it up going forward. I didn't like it. Like you said, I'm fine with holdouts, but this to me just was not exactly a holdout. It wasn't that typical situation. Overall, didn't like it. I think it hurt the team.
Well, it did hurt the team. They went to Chicago and lost today. In 94 career road starts in the regular season, Big Ben is 55-39, quarterback rating of 88. He's thrown 130 touchdowns, 89 interceptions. At home in 93 games, he's 71-22 with 175 touchdowns and only 17 interceptions. Why do you think there's a big difference with home Big Ben and away Big Ben?
Yeah, I don't know. We just asked. Nobody seems to know. I mean, there's really no answer to it. It's very weird. It's hard for me to understand, frankly, because you see a lot of great quarterbacks who statistically are pretty unaffected home and road. You kind of expect that from Ben, as good as he is. But for whatever reason, the Steelers have not gone on the road. And, we talked about it. The facts are, on the road, it somehow becomes a pretty much one-dimensional run game with Le'Veon Bell and a one-dimensional pass game with Antonio Brown. For whatever reason, those supplemental guys are just not as involved. And we've seen over the years the time when Steelers offense is really clicking is when those, the Jesse James guy, the Martavis Bryant, when those guys get involved, they are very, very hard to stop. Because, offensively, they're a complete team. They have a solid offensive line, solid running game, more than solid, explosive running game and explosive pass game. But for whatever reason, they just cannot seem to get that going on the road. And I think after a while, it almost becomes a mental thing, where you're frustrated about it and you want it to change so badly that maybe you start forcing or doing things differently. Because right now, it just seems like a road funk. These last few years, the Steelers just are not as confident for whatever reason outside of their home stadium of Heinz Field.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Back on The Locker Room with Jeff Schwartz and Barrett Jones. One of the more shocking outcomes today was the Panthers and Saints game. The Saints go in to Bank of America Stadium, win 34-13. Carolina Panthers offense really sputtering right now with Cam Newton at quarterback. They have one offensive touchdown in 3 games. I live in Charlotte. I watch a lot of Cam Newton football. Cam still does not look right. He missed all of the preseason except of 8 plays, and he threw 2 of those 8 plays in the 3rd preseason game. He can throw the ball right now decently between the numbers. Anything outside the numbers, anything on the run, doesn't look good. And really, the Saints defensive line got after him today as well. Cam Jordan, stud Saints defensive end, had this to say: clearly, he's trying to be more of a pocket passer, and I'm okay with it. Perfectly fine with it. I mean, there was a time he scooted off for 13 yards, and it was very Cam-esque, but at the same time, he wanted to be a pocket passer. Our coach gave us some egregious stat about Cam's turnovers, and we added 3 onto that. Barrett, when you watch Cam Newton, is it rusty? Is it not practicing this offseason, or is this kind of the new normal with Cam Newton?
Well, I think it's a combination of everything. Let me first say, in full disclosure, that the worst pain I have ever suffered in my entire life from a football standpoint came at the hands of Cam Newton in 2010 when we were up 20, or Alabama was up 24-0 against Cam, and he led Auburn back, and they beat us 28-27. So I need to say that. So anything I say about Cam, is it unbiased? I don't know. I can't answer that question honestly. So I just need to get that out there. I think Cam Newton, to me, is living proof that it's just almost impossible at this day and age to be a true dual-threat quarterback. I mean, you look at if you've ever seen Cam Newton in person, this dude is a monster. He is
like a defensive end.
I mean, he is one of the most impressive physical specimens I've ever come across, and we've seen it. It's taken a toll on his body these past few years. I mean, you look at 2015. Obviously, he had gaudy stats, had over 600 rushing yards, 10 rushing touchdowns. He was a true dual threat weapon. You know, kind of a new age of dual threat quarterback, being 6'5", 245. We thought he was about to revolutionize the game, and since then he's kind of regressed. Obviously, he's the MVP of the league. I kind of think it's the new normal. I think Cam Newton as a pocket passer will never have those kind of numbers. You know, what made him so special was being that dual threat guy, being able to make certain plays, make things happen, being a big part of the run game. I think when you add that element to this offense, it opens up everything else. Without that, this offense is just kind of meh, to be honest. You know, I know they added McCaffrey. They added, Kelvin Benjamin's kind of been a disappointment this year, honestly. Besides those 2015 stats, you take those out. I think this is the new normal, honestly. That's my answer for this. I know that's not a popular answer for the Carolina. Again, can I be unbiased? I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I agree with you on that. Here's Cam Newton after the game talking about his offense and whether they will improve or not.
It may just be, a small little change up, but one thing about it, things on the offensive side has to be better, and I'm proclaiming that it will. So moving forward, it's no need to panic, it's no need to rush, it's no need to be up in arms about a situation. Should you be frustrated as a fan? Absolutely. Yeah, I'm frustrated, with my lackluster performance, knowing that we are better than the performances that we've been putting on in the last couple of weeks. But listen, hey, just be patient and know that big things are ahead for us, and knowing that this year's Panthers team, has big things and big things to do.
Well, there is no reason to panic because they're 2-1, so they're off to a good start. However, I thought they would be able to incorporate some of their weapons a little bit more seamlessly. With McCaffrey, with Samuel, having Olsen out is huge. This is the first game Cam Newton has played as a career without Greg Olsen. And Greg Olsen's their tight end. He's played for years. He plays almost 100% of the snaps as well, so a big difference in the run game. And to me, I thought it would take some time to work in these guys, but they don't really seem to have a plan on how to use Samuel, McCaffrey, Stewart, rotate the guys through. And their offensive line, quite frankly, has been disappointing at times. They spent some money to upgrade some positions there. So I agree with you. I think this is the new normal for Cam. He's not going to run the ball anymore, which changes the way defenses play the Panthers, right? So when he was running the ball, safety's down in the box. They might have some more run stunts, run twists. Now you're going to get a lot more cover two with him not running the football, and I think this is what he's at, 52%, 55% completion percentage, and a guy who's a shell of his MVP year.
Yeah, real quickly, I think the reason for the Panthers not to panic is simple. They have a really good defense. If you look at the way they're calling plays this year, they're going to lean heavily on that defense. That defense is going to take them as far as they're going to go. I think if there's no reason to panic, it's because of that defense. Because, frankly, I've been very unimpressed with this offense so far. They're going to have to be a lot better, though, if they really want to make a deep run in the playoffs. But, Cam, he is back from injury. There is hope for the Panthers.
Well, I agree about the defense. I think their defense is stellar. They went 2 games without allowing a touchdown. Obviously, a setback this weekend against the Saints, but they have a very favorable schedule, and we'll see how the South finishes out.